Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Supporting the Growth of Youth Leaders. My name is BC Echohawk and I'm a Communications Coordinator with the Native Connections TTA Center. On behalf of the Native Connections team and contracting officer representatives, Maureen Madison and Jan Dunbar Cooper, I'd like to thank you all for joining us today. In a few moments, we'll start our presentation. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be available in the near future. Because we are recording, all phone lines will be muted to minimize outside noise. Please don't hesitate to use the chat box for questions throughout the session. You can also use the raise hand function and we'll call on you for comment. But first opening us up in a good way is Autumn Rose Williams. Autumn Rose?
Wanikisuk, everybody. I hope that you're having a wonderful day. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yay. Okay, that's so good to hear. So thank you, Tabutni, everybody, for joining us today. I'm going to do an opening prayer to bless this webinar today. If you guys don't mind. So, Akwe, Autumn Rose, Miss Women in Nuxco, and Noisawunk Williams, Natishiwank. Wanikisuk Gichimanido Tabutni for all that you do for me and that you do for everyone on this meeting. I ask that you allow us to not have any technical issues today and allow this meeting to run smoothly. Allow us to receive the messages we're meant to receive today. Allow all the speakers to be able to communicate clearly and concisely, and that those watching are able to receive the message that they are meant to receive, the knowledge that they are meant to receive, and that we are able to share and connect on this webinar today and utilize this webinar for networking, for connection, for understanding, and for growth. I ask that you protect and that you guide and that you uplift and empower everybody today. And with that, I say Tabutni, I say thank you, and I say aho. So I hope that you guys enjoy the webinar today. I hope that you guys really get to connect with what each and every presenter has today and that all of your questions are answered today. And I say thank you for letting me present this prayer, and Tabutni. And I would now like to turn it over to Marty, who will further introduce this webinar for today. Hey, Marvin Richardson, or like we like to call him, Marty. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Naham PP, Dr. Marty Richardson Miki Laikanase, Mima Halawasaponi Yesan, Hollister Watiwa. My name is Dr. Marty Richardson. I am from the Halawasaponi Indian tribe. I am a grantee technical assistant with the Tribal Training Technical Assistance Center, as well as Native Connections. And so I'll be one of the facilitators today. And I would like to introduce my colleague, who is Sienna. Sienna, introduce yourself.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sienna Hunter-Sujay. I am an enrolled member with the Shinnecock Nation and descendant of the Lenape, Delaware Nanakoke. I am a technical assistance coordinator with the Wokuya team, and I am really excited to be here today with everyone. And the time that we spent putting this webinar together, my community and family continues to grow as I've met new people through this process. So welcome, everyone. And I am moving forward. And Marty, I'm going to give it back to you for the webinar descriptions.
Thank you, Sienna, and thank you for the introduction. So today is Growing Our Youth Leaders webinar, and we want everyone to come away with some good information and something to take away that they can use in their Native Connections programs and also in their tribal and Native communities. So today we want to talk about the conditions, supports, and opportunities to be leaders. What are the conditions? What are the supports that youth need in order to become leaders? What are the opportunities that must be made available to them in order to become leaders? Mentors, programs, and activities. Our youth leaders need mentors, They need programs in order to become leaders and to be active in their tribal and Native community. And they need activities to keep them busy and to help them become leaders. They also need a cultural framework that respects tradition, but it's also adaptable to modern times. As you all know, as Native people, we have been resilient because we have adapted over time to our conditions in order to survive and maintain our communities and as Native people. Moving on. So with our webinar, we are presenting 3 different tiers of youth leadership, and our presenters today will focus on one of these tiers as well as others, but we would like to focus on 3 tiers of leadership. The first is planting the seeds of youth leadership. And these are the opportunities, again, the opportunities, the programs that are available that provide them an opportunity to be active in their tribal communities and their Native communities, and then supporting and helping youth leaders grow. And so they need the support in order to grow. They need the support from mentors, from elders, from others in the community, maybe from their schools. And then the third tier is completing the circle. And so this is for our older youth leaders who come back to the community or somehow provide mentorship to the younger leaders coming up. And so at this time, I'm going to hand it back over to Sienna, who will talk about the objectives of our webinar today.
Yeah, so we're jam-packed with wonderful information today, and we really hope that you have an opportunity to take away some knowledge on the conditions and opportunities that Native youth need to become and thrive as leaders in our community, how we could better sustain youth engagement in our communities by mentorship, whether it's by adult mentorship or peer-to-peer mentorship, and how youth can have positive youth qualities in developing all those. And next is the ability and looking at the how and why Native youth should continue in community engagement and how we just really keep that going and really support them in their growth for our upcoming leaders because they will continue the good work that we're doing. And with that said, it means a whole lot for me to be able to be present today in this space and introduce Autumn Rose as our moderator. She is a young woman from my community at Shinnecock that I have watched growing up through the years and seen her growth. And I hope I've been a small part of her mentoring and her engaging in being this incredible leader, you know, locally and nationally. So Autumn, it's all you.
Hello, everybody. Wanikisuk again. And yes, Sienna, you have definitely been one of the young ladies within my community who has been a mentor and inspiration for me and all the work that I do today. So if you guys don't know, I am from the Shinnecock Nation as well. I was born and raised on Long Island, New York. And growing up, I was crowned Miss Teen Shinnecock. And being Miss Teen Shinnecock, I had a wonderful time getting to travel to a lot of the Northeastern powwows and meeting a lot of my community members when it comes to the to our Eastern region and specifically more so our Northeastern region. I also was crowned Miss Native American USA 2017-2018, and my focus for that during my reign, my platform was empowerment. And what does that look like for empowerment? And when I talk about empowerment, I talk about 4 different things. I talk about connection to culture. How are you connecting to your Indigenous culture on a regular basis? And that looks different for everybody, right? For me, I like to go kayaking or canoeing, but for my little brother, he might like to draw things that remind him of Shinnecock. I also talked about knowing how to balance living within your Indigenous community and then living within the larger American society. I talked about identity and how important it is to understand who you are outside of any expectations that people put on you. And lastly, once you learn to empower yourself, empower one another. And you do that by doing things like these webinars and sharing the knowledge that you have and passing that on to each other. Now, once I finished that, I pursued a plus size modeling career, and I was assigned to state management to further push that message of empowerment, of belief in yourself, of continuously to push yourself to face your fears, or in my language, to be manoisas, to be fearless. And then I currently work as the communications coordinator for the administration for Native Americans, servicing Indigenous communities across the United States, Alaska, and the Pacific Islander region. And with that, I'm learning a lot, and I truly, truly do enjoy the work that I'm doing, continuously giving back to my Indigenous communities. And I'm honored to be a panel moderator today and to be able to connect with the different presenters and see all that they are doing today. So once again, I say Tabutni, I say thank you for having me today. And I am so excited to introduce our first presenter, the Southern Indian Health Council. So if you guys would like to introduce yourself, I would love to hear from you, and everyone would love to hear your presentation.
Yes. Hi, my name is Elizabeth. I am filling in for Edith Carmona, but I am the Youth and Family Case Manager for Southern Indian Health Council here in Alpine, California. And as you can see on your screen, I also have two youth presenters. Well, one youth presenter. Oceana couldn't make it today, so I will be speaking her part later on. But just to introduce what Southern Indian Health Council is and what we do for youth, I'll give a brief description. Southern Indian Health Council's Prevention and Early Intervention program provides educational services focusing on various areas of social, emotional, and behavioral topics to support individuals of all ages. The Kumeyaay Nation Youth Advisory Committee is hosted by Prevention and Early Intervention program. It was established to give youth the opportunity to showcase their talents and provide a chance to better their community. Next slide, please. And next slide. So for Kumeyaay Nation Youth Advisory Committee, it focuses on the objective of planting the seed. The following objectives I will be focusing on will be the reasons for creating the committee, the recruitment process, and the goal of keeping them motivated. Some reasons for creating the committee. The first objective are the reasons the committee was created. The Kumeyaay Nation Youth Advisory Committee was formed to allow for a space where all Native youth can gather together in a unified fashion to gain leadership, grow as an individual, build their self-confidence and self-esteem, become advocates for change within their community, to be culturally empowered, and to provide a fun environment with other peer leaders in their community. The second objective is how the recruitment process works. The recruitment process occurs every December, where new applicants are reviewed for admission to the committee and will be notified of the decision in January. The requirements for consideration in the committee are as follows. They must be Native youth between the ages of 12 to 24 years old, and the submission of a short essay explaining why they want to become part of the Kumeyaay Nation Youth Advisory Committee, or why they are choosing to nominate a youth in their community. Anyone is eligible to nominate a youth for a candidate for this committee. The last objective is how to keep the youth leaders motivated. Kumeyaay Nation Youth Advisory Committee facilitates monthly meetings to discuss upcoming activities, projects, events, and campaigns to encourage growth as a youth leader, planting the seed of community involvement, engagement, and helping mentor upcoming leaders. The committee allows the youth the opportunity to express their own ideas, thoughts, and exercise their voice on a platform of leadership. As a result, the committee members serve as an inspiration for the next generation of youth leaders. Next slide. So just to To wrap up my portion of the presentation, I want to say thank you for the opportunity to speak about planting the seed of youth leadership. Like I said, I have one youth participant who will share her story of leadership and her experience of being part of the Kumeyaay Nation Youth Advisory Committee. And so I will lead that on to the next slide, which would be Malaya Jones. Malaya.
Halka, Malaya Jones, Mechahi, and Yana Hukupum, Kampukupa. Hello, everyone. My name is Malaya Jones. I am 10, and I am from Campo Band of Mission Indian. I am Little Miss Kumeyaay 2019 through 2021. I want to join the Kumeyaay Nation Youth Advisory Committee because I would like to make a difference in my community. I want people all over the world to look at me and see that there are good people in the world and that like to help their communities and to make a difference in their community. Yes, I see myself as a leader in the community because I am always willing to help whenever it is needed, even if I am not interested in an activity or the job. I want my peers to see me doing things like this and be inspired to do it too. For the future of my community, I want to see more people graduating and going to college. And I would like to see everyone coming together because not just because someone passed away. I thought my community was not able to have peace and work together, but not longer does the generation keep going, but the generation kind of gets better.
Next slide. Thank you. So Oceana could not make it today. However, she did prepare a portion of her presentation that she has allowed me to speak on her behalf. So it says, hello, my name is Oceana Cristiano, and I am 12 years old and I am in 7th grade. I wanted to join the committee because I wanted to challenge my skills and to help our community grow with great minds. I see myself as a leader to help make it stay strong and more connected this year. Things I expect for our future community is to make our word spread and to make our community feel welcomed. I want to show others it's not hard to make the world a better place and how to be a leader. Thank you.
Thank you guys for sharing that. And Malia, if you're still on, you are a wonderful example of a leader. And I think it's so great to have these committees and have these youth a part of it. And I thank you guys for sharing what you guys are doing and having the youth share their testimonies. It's very inspiring and beautiful. So thank you, Southern Indian Youth Council, for your presentation. Next, I would like to introduce Stevie Johnson. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I would like to introduce Stevie Johnson and her presentation. So next up is Stevie.
Hello, everybody. Next slide, please. Okay, so planting the seeds of youth leadership. Next slide. So before I get started, I just wanted to briefly introduce myself. Aho Minwagishigi Tirakwana. Hello, my name is Stevie Johnson. I'm an enrolled member of the Absentee Shawnee tribe, and I'm Second Fox. I'm 16 years old. I started work in prevention 5 years ago at age 11. I started off as a trainer for the National Youth Leadership Initiative for Community Anti-Drug Coalitions of America, and I've been a part of numerous campaigns for different coalitions. Next slide, please. So how to get started. I think one of the most important things is to join a coalition. I first started with the My DNA Coalition for the Absentee Shawnee Tribe. I think it's a really good place to start because you get exposed to work in prevention and getting to know your community. And even if you aren't aware of any coalitions, it's really good to reach out to your tribe, community members, and just ask questions. And even looking up CADCA is a good idea. They have their own app, they have their own social media. As you can see in the pictures, that was me at my very first CADCA. I didn't show up with a coalition. I actually went with my mom, and that didn't stop me from achieving things. I was asked to write a blog about my experience, and along with joining a coalition, I was able to be a part of an anti-underage drinking campaign, which led me to be able to meet the Surgeon General at the time, who was Dr. Vivek Murthy. Next slide, please. So setting yourself up for success, gaining confidence to organize and take on leadership roles within your community. So what I mean by this is just put yourself in leadership-like roles and build from there. Whenever I joined my first coalition, I didn't know how to be a leader in my community. I didn't know where to start. So I decided to run for the Junior Miss Second Fox Nation Tribal Princess, and I was the princess for the next 2 years. And I was able to speak out about substance abuse and prevention, and I made appearances at different conferences. And on the picture to the right was I actually won a 5K, and just these small things within my community helped me build confidence to be able to become a leader. Next slide. So now taking opportunities. I think this is probably the most important aspect in youth leadership. So I put scholarships there because CADCA offers scholarships to youth to attend their conferences. And, fortunately for me, my mom was already in the prevention field, and her friend Raquel Ramos actually came to us and said, hey, there's an opportunity for Stevie. She can become a trainer for CADCA. But the youngest you could be was 13, and I was 11 at the time. So, I'm not saying I didn't take it seriously, but, I had fun making my video. I sent in my application, not expecting to hear anything back. But, I was picked to become a trainer. And that's why taking opportunities is so important, because if I had not just taken that leap of faith, I wouldn't have been able to do, the things that I've been doing. And, opportunities won't always be handed to you like that. That's why it's important to ask questions and get involved. Next slide. So this leads me to my next slide, networking. Meeting new people means new opportunities. So on the picture on the far left, I just got through giving a speech at the Drug Free Kids campaign. And this gentleman came up to me and, he asked me to speak somewhere else, and he wanted to get to know me. So it gets you exposed to more ideas and relationships. And so in the picture in the middle, I met a fellow princess at a CADCA conference. So that in itself built a relationship. And if I ever need any recommendations or I'm seeking out new opportunities, then I have these people that I can reach out to. Next slide. So putting yourself out there, I wanted these pictures to show you what putting yourself out there can achieve. This kind of goes hand in hand with setting yourself up for success and taking opportunities. If I had not taken the opportunity back in 2016, I wouldn't have been able to speak at the Drug Free Kids campaign. I wouldn't have received the Agent of Change Award. And all these little achievements that I built up over the years, it built character and confidence in myself to become a better leader. Next slide, please. So my last slide, who to count on. This kind of relates to networking, finding people who will support and help you get to where you want to be. So for me, those people are my mom and my sister. They acted as a resource and a helping hand. And Raquel Ramos, the one who really helped me get here, she was one of those people who helped me find those opportunities. So I think for youth leadership, just building that circle of people around you is very, very important. So thank you.
Thank you, Stevie Johnson. You're very right. It takes a lot of courage to seek out those opportunities and be in those leadership roles. So it's beautiful to see all the work that you have done and you are doing. So thank you for that presentation. Next, I would like to introduce the Shoshone Paiute and Charlene Green and the Youth Council. So I would like to introduce them next. Let's hear from the Shoshone Paiute.
Well, good morning, and thank you for that nice introduction, Autumn. We wanted to share a project that we did during the COVID time, because Duck Valley is a really isolated community. It's 100 miles either direction from a town, and our tribal council did a great job of protecting the community from COVID, but it really meant that we needed to provide some conditions and supports to help youth move into leadership roles. And part of this was just the difficulty of the previous 6 months during COVID, in which we'd had a number of suicides, including some in our age group. So this was something that we decided to go ahead and do and be proactive about. So next slide. So, Build Nevada is the program that we wanted to talk to you about. And that was our thought about youth leadership through actually developing skills that would help support people in the community. So next slide. So what's Build Nevada? I wanted to share that with you because it's something that we thought was really helpful in the community. So it's an 80-hour core construction training program with a 10 hours OSHA certification. So there were several Nevada organizations that contributed to it. It actually came about through the Nevada Board of Regents, but 3 other Native communities participated in it, and it was quite successful. So it's a certified program through NCCER. And they offer the course certification, and they also have additional certifications. So I wanted all of you to know about where you can find that information. Next slide. So every state has the opportunity to do an NCCER program, and usually the folks you contact are the Builders Association or the Association of General Contractors in your state. And I wanted all of you to know about this because they're the ones who usually offer this certification through NCCER. So next slide. So what we did here in Duck Valley is, as I said earlier, because of COVID, we decided to bring someone into the community, and our COVID rates were really low. So we wanted to be really careful. So we decided, rather than send our Native Connections referrals out for training, that we would bring some in. We would bring an instructor in here. So we had a number of referrals. We asked the community for referrals of youth that they felt would benefit from the program. So we had 10 referrals. 5 were in our Native Connections age group, and 5 were older adults that had experience in the construction field, but we wanted also to encouraging mentors. So the group agreed on a schedule, and they met every day. And I was really excited about this, that they were committed enough that they were willing to meet on the weekends, which meant I need to meet, I needed to be there too. So they also decided to take on an extra project that wasn't required by NCCER. So they partnered with the fire department to build a 12 by 14-foot saw shed to house equipment. They really came together as a team, and they completed the building project. They also dealt with a lot of other problems in just completing the assessments in the course, because we have all kinds of internet problems here, and they were required to take their tests paper and pencil rather than online, simply because we didn't have really good internet to get in for the test taking. So next slide. So I wanted to share some pictures with you of the project. You can see in the first picture the size of the shed. So that was really a big project to do in 80 hours. The second one is one of our adult mentors who's helping with framing. The third one shows Richard Pete, whom you'll hear from in a few minutes, framing a window. And the last slide here is actually putting together the foundation of the shed. So next slide. So here you see Indy Modesto, whom you'll also hear from in a moment, putting on her safety equipment so she can go to the top and start working on the roof. You also see Sam Gibson, who is framing up one of the windows. So next slide. Now, these were 3 of our Native Connections referrals, and none of them were able to be here in person today because they're all working. But I asked them if they would share something with you about their experience. This is not scripted, and just so you know ahead of time, they were all nervous. But anyway, let's start maybe with Indy's story.
Hello, my name is India Modesto, and I was a part of a training, and I'm thankful to have been a part of the training. I've learned new skills and have been refreshed on ones I haven't used in a while, and it helped me build confidence and leadership in building a shed and learning a lot of new tools to use in future jobs.
Hi, my name is Donnie Thomas. I come from the Shoshone Paiute tribes down here in Duck Valley, Oahe, Nevada. And I'm here to talk about those Nevada Builds classes that we were introduced back in April, I believe. It's a really great opportunity for a lot of young kids, especially kids that are coming out of school and just want to start working. They, I guess, provide a qualification in a trade such as construction is the one that I was had the opportunity to do. One of the things that, for me and my personal experience going through those classes, was it was a refresher for me. Growing up, I did do a lot of trades, and construction was one of them. It really helped because growing up, I didn't learn about blueprints, and blueprints was one of the main, I guess, what is it called? One of the main subjects during the class that I was really interested in, because it's blueprints does play a big part in construction, and also with the class too, with the class in general that I was with, there were some amazing people in there, a great team building that we had. A lot of them we had to help, I guess, throughout the class because some of them never had experience with it. And overall, it was just an amazing class. Our instructor too, Edwin Fell, was an amazing person to learn a lot of those, I guess, knowledge-based skills from him too. The classes itself online were pretty easy for the most part. There was some parts of it where you did have to ask for help, and that's common in classwork too. And I guess another thing that I should put out there is with mentoring other kids, it also provides a lot of help because these younger kids don't have somebody there with them, and just being able to, like, if we were to attend those classes and help somebody younger than us experience those classes, it would be beneficial because they got somebody they could talk to, somebody to ask questions. And that's what the class that I was in, we all had a little bit of knowledge, and just like they say, you learn something new every day. One day I could learn something new from somebody, and the next day I could be teaching somebody something different. And so, yeah.
Hello, my name is Richard Pete. I'm from the Shoshone-Paiute tribe in Duck Valley Indian Reservation. I took a class. It was called Nevada Builds, put on through the tribe. Ed something was my teacher, and he was really good. Some of the things that I learned is there's a lot of, I guess you learn a lot of, it brings out the best in your teaching skills when you're working with your friends, but you just learn how to be a good teacher. With leadership, I think it's important to show kids in the reservation and just all kids, honestly, that there's more options out there for you, and that you don't have to be so hard on yourself, I guess. Just get out there and do some things. And I know it's hard if you're in a class of a bunch of people you don't really know, or if you're brand new. When these programs come to the reservation like this, and you're kind of with your buddies, and that helps a lot, because you grew up with these people, you know a lot of them, they're all your cousins or something. That really helps when you're in situations like this, I guess. What else?
Then say something about how the skills contribute to leadership. You've talked about relationships but being more confident, which I hope you are.
All right. When it comes to having a lot of skills, it's nice. It's nice to have a lot of skills, because after repetition, you get more confident, and then you grow with your confidence. So you're not stuttering like I am. Jeez. Having skills like what I was taught in Nevada Builds, it kind of gives you a backup plan. I mean, or just a first A plan, I guess. But you just always have that in your pocket, you always have that in your pocket if you ever need it. You could always fall back on it. Everybody's always going to need somebody to do the laboring work, to do the hard work, to do the nailing, to do everything. So, and then that leads to keeping a job. If you have a job, then you're going to get into a lot less trouble. You just don't have the time to do all the drugs and alcohol, and it's just so. A job is good. Hold down a job.
So last slide. So just a quick reflection for you from Nevada Builds, just our experience. We felt like it really helped the members of the community. It encouraged working together. And I told them at the beginning, a team is not a label, it's how you treat each other. So there was an increased sense of confidence on the part of the participants because they were able to develop more skills. And there was a real sense of pride about having a certificate from a national ranked credentialing agency. And at the end, each person was given a set of tools for completing the training program, which provided them the chance to contribute to the community and go to work right away. So the last thing that we're working on about how to sustain the engagement from this is the group has gotten together since they graduated in May, and they're putting together a little business plan to offer the community or our tribal council at the next meeting about the things that they are able to do as a group. And they kind of came up with this idea on their own because we have some construction projects coming up. The last thing is in the fall, we are going to offer Build Nevada in the high school, and 3 of the folks who took the program are going to be direct mentors to the high school students who will be involved in Build Nevada. So we feel like this was a real contribution towards leadership in our community. So thank you very much for listening and for giving us the opportunity.
Well, thank you, Charlene Green, and thank you for sharing the what the youth is doing. It's very impressive to see the work that they have done and to see how impactful it is to teach our youth transferable skill sets that they can use in their life going forward. So it's very impressive, the work that you guys are doing there. So I thank you for that presentation. Next, I would like to introduce Shoshana Johnson. So Shoshana Johnson, you're next. Let's see your presentation.
Hello, everybody. I see some familiar names in the crowd. So shout out to Dave, Angela, and Mary. I hope you all are doing great today. Next slide, please. So today I will be talking about completing the circle by mentoring the next Native youth leaders. Next slide, please. My name is Shoshana Johnson, and I am a member of the Absentee Shawnee Tribe of Oklahoma. My Shawnee name is Magawasi, and I am Roundfoot Clan. I'm also Sac and Fox from my mother's side. I graduated from the University of Central Oklahoma in 2018 in communications and have over 5 years of experience working on prevention grant programs. I was an inaugural youth council member for the National Council of Urban Indian Health, and I'm still involved today to offer peer-to-peer support as an alumni member. I currently serve as a public relations specialist for the Absentee Shawnee Tribal Health System. Today, I will be talking about the conditions, support, and opportunities I had that led me to complete the circle of Native youth leadership and helping youth leaders grow. Next slide, please. Building capacity for leadership. We are all on our own leadership journey. It's an ever-evolving experience as we learn more about ourselves as we go through life. For me, I broke down my journey down into 3 parts. These 3 parts are what I needed to find myself and develop my own style of leadership. I believe that in order to be a leader, you have to be transparent about your journey, which includes not only your successes and your lessons learned, but also your challenges. I found my interests and passion through getting my education. I was lucky enough to find an internship at the Southern Plains Tribal Health Board and Tribal Epidemiology Center located in Oklahoma City while I was still in college. This is where I learned about public health and started going to trainings provided by partnering tribes throughout the state of Oklahoma. I traveled to different regions, creating partnerships with tribes and going to their trainings that were free and open to the public. The learning opportunities I had were valuable to me because I knew that I could take this knowledge with me no matter where my career went. This is where I learned all the acronyms you often hear in public health, like SAMHSA, CADCA, IHS, CDC, and all the other different tribal entities throughout Indian country. I became very interested in health communications specifically because it combined all the things I loved about communications and marketing with public health. I wanted to help Native communities learn more about prevention because it taught me more about myself, my family, and the trauma and healing that can be found in it. That's why a lot of prevention programs choose to implement a universal approach because it resonates with everyone at some capacity. I was pretty excited once I had a better idea on what I wanted to do after I graduated. So putting my education into practice is where I was able to not only gain real world experience, but also having a chance to find my own voice. This is when I was introduced to the National Council of Urban Indian Health, AKA NCCEER. NCCEER's Youth Council was supported by their Native Connections Grant Program, and I had just started working as a project coordinator for another Native Connections program in Oklahoma. So learning from both ends of a program was the greatest experience I had. I learned more about suicide prevention, program implementation, and what peer-to-peer support looks like. The NCCEER Youth Council gave me opportunities to speak on webinars, during their annual summit and eventually to upcoming youth council members. As a project coordinator for the Native Connections program that I was on, I gained experience in networking and collaborating with programs through training opportunities. For example, through the free trainings I had from other tribes, I became a trainer in the Native American Substance Abuse Prevention Skills Training. I still help facilitate trainings today outside of my regular day job because there is a lot of value in sharing stories and learning about other Native youth in their communities. Having support in both my private life and work life has been what I've been most grateful for. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for my mentors, my family, and the partnerships I made. Everyone has a story to tell about how they got into prevention. And I have been lucky enough to hear a lot from the people that I have met through this line of work. There's a vulnerability aspect to it that resonates with people. I think that is why connecting with people in prevention feels so powerful to me. Next slide, please. So partnerships to me equal opportunity. Throughout my time learning about public health and working on different prevention programs, I met a lot of people and organizations who had the same goals as me. This picture was taken in 2020 at the first ever Intertribal Advisory Council meeting hosted by the Community Anti-Drug Coalitions of America, AKA CADCA. Indian country is small, so it's important to maintain good working relationships with everyone you meet. We have all at some point worked together, which means we were open to learning and willing to listen to others. We shared resources to achieve our common goals as well. Finding camaraderie in these people and organizations helped me find opportunities to learn, to train, to educate, and to share my experiences. This proves that if you have a passion for something, others will see that in you. At times, I felt inadequate to be working in public health because I came from a communications background. But through these partnerships, I learned and found people who believed in me. I'm proof that anyone can get into prevention work. Next slide, please. Mentors. When I brought up the 3 key essentials I needed to grow as a youth leader, which were education, experience, and support, I said that having support was the most important aspect for me. So I defined mentors here as an experienced and trusted advisor. I met my mentors at different times in my life. As I was working at the Southern Plains Tribal Health Board, I was paired with a subject matter expert named Carlos Martinez. He quickly became a mentor to me. He took me under his wing to learn about public health, which included prevention, research, data collection, grant writing, and reporting, as well as project management. The Southern Plains Tribal Health Board works with over 40 tribes across the states of Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. So I was growing to envy people who worked for their own tribes. It was an experience I hadn't had yet, and I had been itching for it. So once I found an opportunity to apply for a position at my tribe, I took it. I wanted to come back home to my own tribe and get the full experience of my culture, which brought me to my other mentor, Sasha Almanza. Sasha has helped me bring back our traditional ways into my life and finding that work-life balance of helping our community and tribe and also taking care of ourselves. I see her as a community champion because I was nervous about coming back to my tribe and if I would be accepted. But with her guidance, I feel like I've had a great homecoming experience and have even reconnected with family. In Native public health, you hear the saying, culture is prevention a lot because programs are trying to promote protective factors to combat the health disparities occurring in their communities. Going back to our culture and traditions promote a healthier lifestyle that is more fulfilling and increases our self-identity and boosts our resilience.
This is the one after us.
This is how I started to find myself. This is where culture meets prevention for me and has helped me become a better mentor. Next slide, please. This is what my support system looks like. It consists of my mother, Melanie, and my younger sister, Stevie, who you heard in the beginning of this presentation. My mother has been working in Indian country for as long as I can remember, supporting communities through different prevention programs and education. My sister has been a youth advocate since she was 11 years old and is also a prevention trainer. We support each other through our different projects because we know how hard it can be to work in prevention sometimes. We stay educated on our family's risk and protective factors, our mental health, and what type of coping skills are beneficial to us. We stick together to end the cycles of trauma by creating our own matriarchal foundation for future generations of our family. We are very close, and a family activity for us includes doing trainings or going to conferences together to learn how we can become better advocates for our family and loved ones who still struggle with substance abuse. Next slide, please. Impact. People and organizations in my life lit up a pathway for me to become a better mentor, and I'm trying to take that path further so that others can find opportunities too. So staying connected with upcoming youth councils by providing presentations and resources. I've maintained a great relationship with NCCER and still help contribute to different initiatives they do, which gives me an opportunity to connect with youth from all over the country. Sustaining partnerships through training opportunities. I stay connected with the partners I made in prevention on social media and share resources they put out. Passing down these resources help give others access to opportunities they may have not known about. Having access to this information has also been beneficial to my family as well. My uncle has come to learn more about prevention, has attended trainings I've done or my family has done, and now he is becoming a prevention trainer himself. Bringing awareness to current youth programming throughout the state of Oklahoma. As a public relations specialist, I help bring awareness to my tribe's current programming and also being a point of contact for the community. My tribe has a Native Connections grant program as well that I help push out messaging for and helping the program engage with the community online. It's been a great experience working with 3 different Native Connections programs because of the opportunities it helped me get. I'm proud of my tribe's program because they have continued to be a presence this year and are helping the community come closer together using culture as prevention. So shout out to Angela, you're doing a great job and I enjoy working with you. Also, working with family to promote training and leadership opportunities for Indian country. I still work on projects with SAMHSA and CADCA to bring more Indigenous curriculum in prevention. I worked with CADCA earlier this year to help facilitate a pilot program for a 4-day virtual Native American boot camp training about public health and prevention science. It was a family effort because my mother, Melanie, is someone who has helped push that program out in partnership with CADCA. Lastly, reconnecting with culture and traditions. The first slide of my presentation was a watercolor painting by a Shawnee artist named Ernest Spybuck. It was a depiction of one of our Indian football games that is played during our springtime ceremonies. Me reconnecting with my culture includes playing Indian football for the first time this year during my tribe's bread dance, and it was a lot of fun. And of course, I wouldn't have participated if it wasn't for my cultural mentor, Sasha. Thank you all for listening, and this concludes the end of my presentation.
Thank you so much, Oceana. It's so beautiful to see how all of your work has come full circle and how you're working and doing a lot of the stuff within your tribe and also inspiring other relatives like your uncle to then get into prevention work. That is very beautiful. And that's the exact definition of empowering those around you. So I love it. Next, we will move into our panelist round dance, where we get to ask some of our panelists today further questions so we can learn more, even more elaborate on what they're doing and the work they're doing. So I also want the audience to think of questions that they may have as well. I'm going to turn it over to Marty for some of our questions, our pre-selected questions, but feel free to put in the chat box your own questions that you have for the panelists so we can go over those as well. And Marty, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Alderman. Thank you to all of our wonderful presenters. You've done a great job, and I'll say that again here in just a little bit. But we have some questions now, and we're going to ask, and if you would like to jump in for our panelists, if you would like to jump in and answer, we truly appreciate it and just get a conversation going. The first question is to describe the challenges, obstacles that are facing Native youth presently. What are those challenges that they face in order to become leaders and to get involved in tribal and organizational activities? So whoever would like to jump in of our panelists.
Marvin, can you repeat the question, please?
The question is basically, what are the challenges and obstacles that Native youth face in order to be engaged in leadership and to be successful?
Okay, I can answer this question first. So for me, as a young adult, from my perspective, I see my peers struggling with self-identity, mental health, and trying to figure out what life will be like as we move more into adulthood. Right now, I'm at the age where I have friends who just moved out of their childhood bedrooms this year and others who are starting families of their own. So I really like the direction our society is headed, which is being more open about mental health and promoting healthy coping skills. I think promoting healthy coping skills will help people figure out more about who they are and what they want out of life.
Thank you, Shoshana. I would like to, if we could, to also follow up if maybe Malaya or Stevie, as sort of younger leaders, maybe what do you see as far as the challenges to getting involved?
I can answer this question. So as a teenager, I would say that one of the challenges is just like being confident enough to do it. I know a lot of my friends, you know, it's easy to get insecure and shy, and really just trying to find the opportunities to do it can be difficult. Not everyone has the same resources as me.
Thank you. Who's up next with our tier 2 question?
I have a tier 2 question. What can be done to better engage youth in prevention programming, such as youth councils or youth groups? Let's see. How about, I don't know, anyone would like to take the question? Anyone from Southern Indian Health Council or Shoshone Paiute, maybe? And I'll repeat the question. What can be done to better engage youth in prevention programming, such as youth councils or youth groups? And if someone in our tier 2 group isn't available to respond, if anyone would like to respond to the question, that's fine too.
Provide a short answer. I think some programming that could be provided, incentives do always work. So there's incentives around participation, not just providing gift cards, but just incentives that allow them to stay motivated to come back. And also getting their feedback for whatever next activities or events that we want to partake in. So that way they're more involved in the planning process.
Thank you. Yes, I think incentives are great. Gift cards, if you are able to feed people, food always brings someone. Autumn, how about a tier 3 question?
Yes, I definitely say as a youth, I've gone down to our youth council events and stuff. If they've advertised there's gonna be pizza or something, that definitely got me down for sure. Um, for our tier 3 group, the question I have is what role does mentoring play in youth engagement, youth empowerment, and youth leadership? So I'll repeat that again. This is for our tier 3 or anybody on the panel who would like to answer this question. It's what role does mentoring play in youth engagement, youth empowerment, and youth leadership?
I can go. This is Shoshana. So mentoring can help build a young person's interpersonal skills by providing opportunities that the mentor has from their own connections, their own networking. Mentors, I believe they see your good days and your bad days. And I think being transparent about that is helpful to youth because it was definitely helpful for me. It showed me that everyone is human and it helped me believe in myself more.
I can kind of piggyback off of Shoshana. So I have been mentored and, I think having a mentor is very important because like Shoshana kind of said, they can be a shoulder to cry on. I mean, I literally did cry on my mentor's shoulder because I didn't have the confidence to do what I needed to do. And so, yeah, they really help empower you because they do see your good and bad days.
This is Charlene. I think mentoring is very important because when kids when they're having a hard day and they have a mentor, they know that they'll get through it because they have a mentor, but their mentor got there too. And lots of times a mentor serves a different role than a parent or a teacher, especially if it's someone in the community, another young person or an elder. It just gives them an additional role model for, just getting to adult life or getting through things that are stressful. Mentoring is very important.
Yes, that is very important. And I can definitely attest to having how helpful it is to have a mentor within the community because sometimes not everybody's going to understand. A mentor outside of your community might not understand what it's like to be a part of your Indigenous community. So yes, very beautiful. And do we want to go back to our tier 1 questions or so Marty?
Yes, I have a tier 1 question. I'm going to ask if Stevie or if Malaya is available could answer this question. In your observation, are Native youth in your community engaged in prevention or response to suicide, substance abuse, or mental health prevention? Why or why not? So essentially, are the youth in your community, are they engaged in this type of work, the type of work that you've been engaged in, prevention, suicide prevention, substance abuse prevention, and why or why not? And what are your observations there? Thank you.
I can answer this first. So in my community, I don't think many youth are educated in this. A lot of my friends, they only know about this because they're friends with me, and everyone else doesn't know, what to do with suicide prevention or like even substance abuse. I believe that what they're like telling us at school isn't informational enough. It's pretty brief. So yeah, like in my community, I don't think many youth are very engaged with it.
Thank you. Anyone else want to follow up on that question? Are the youth engaged in your community in suicide prevention, substance abuse, the type of work that Native Connections does? Why or why not?
I can go. This is Shoshana. So I talked to my tribe's Native Connections coordinator over the weekend, Angela, and we were catching up about how her program is doing. And she said that she is noticing youth returning to her programs, events, and activities, which I think is really great news to hear, especially during a pandemic when everything is on Zoom. The fact that youth are coming back to her programs, activities, I think that's a really good sign. For me, I grew up being interested in prevention only because I saw my family struggle with substance abuse and mental health. So I knew I needed tools in my life to overcome the same obstacles some of my family were struggling with. And I think that can resonate with other young people too. I know in the youth council that I was in, that was a shared experience that we all had, is we all got into prevention because of something in our family.
Thank you, Shoshana. Sienna, you want to go with another tier 2 question?
Sure. I was actually wondering if Malaya was still on. I know she was our youngest presenter, but she really had some powerful words, and I don't know if she's still connected to us.
No, but she had to leave early. She was actually at a different event, talking at the same time.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Well, maybe Elizabeth, you could share in some of your thoughts with the work that you're doing in the community as well, or even your discussions that you have with youth. But who do you see as the youth as people that they identify who are positively influence them?
Within the community, I know there's a lot of the parents do try to keep them motivated, especially for Malaya. Her mom is very involved in the community and pushes her to do to be involved in the community. You know, she mentioned she was part of she's Little Miss Kunyai. So, you know, without her parents' support and push, you know, she wouldn't do that on her own. And being part of the youth council as well. She is the youngest one in our committee, so that says something as well. To be part of the youth council and to be the youngest one and wanting to see some sort of change in her generation is profound as well. There's I can't speak for their community. You know, I'm not part of their community, but I do know that there is a lot of adults that would love to see the youth make the community their own. And that was another reason why we created this youth committee, is so that they have something to call theirs and to pass it down to other generations.
Thank you. Dr. Green, do you think you could answer that question about the young folks and the youth that you're working with, who they identify as positive influences in their lives and their discussions and engagement with you?
Hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
We got you.
Okay. I think for our program, the Native Connections youth were really looked up to the other mentors in the program. And I think they also have really looked up to people who have shared values around, for example, drug and alcohol use and supporting people in their family who have gone to treatment. I think they really look up to those people because they see that they got through it and made a decision to do something that was more positive in their life. So more and more, where we have been able to send youth to treatment programs and to pair them up through Native Connections with older mentors that have been through treatments.
Thank you. I just also want to encourage people again to put questions in the chat box. We are monitoring those questions for us to be able to ask the panelists as well. So please feel free to type in a question in the chat box.
Yes, thank you. And our last question before we open up the questions in the chat box is, what can be done to support more peer-to-peer mentorship? So Stevie, as a youth who has been in a lot of leadership roles, what do you think the youth are looking for when it comes to more peer-to-peer mentorship?
Do you think you could rephrase that?
Sure. So if you know somebody in your age group who might need mentorship, what do you feel like you think is the best way to give that peer support so that there can be more peer-to-peer mentorship?
Okay. I guess maybe just a sense of understanding would probably be my best answer. For the other person to know that you're there for them and, you know, like just there to help. I have to think about that a little bit more.
Yeah, of course, that's completely fine. And if anybody else on the panel has some ideas on how we can better facilitate more peer-to-peer relationship and what can be done to support and facilitate more peer-to-peer relationships within different communities. Peer-to-peer mentorships, I'm sorry.
I can go. This is Shoshana. So something that comes to mind right away is pretty much an exercise that the youth council I was in that we did when we all first started getting acquainted with one another. We talked about what areas of interest we wanted to learn more about when it came to Native connections and all of the objectives that are in this grant program. And so we picked out a few things that we would want to learn about, and then we were asked, okay, well, now you get to present to the rest of the group about those topics. So we were practicing presenting to one another about different aspects of the Native Connections Grant Program. And for me, that was really helpful, just learning stuff from my own peers and see how they break things down, which is similar to the way I break things down in my mind. And so to me, that really helped us get along with one another and practice presenting to each other about suicide prevention.
Yeah, I agree with Shoshana. That reminded me of whenever I was doing the training for trainers. Yeah, we all practice presenting the strategic prevention framework to each other and getting to just hear each other and just how they view things in their own way.
That's beautiful. That makes sense. Yeah, to have those shared experiences makes each youth feel more comfortable to connect and open up. So yeah, thank you for sharing that, guys. So now we would like to open up to questions from the audience. If you guys have any questions for the panelists, please feel free to type them into the chat so we can open those questions up.
Hey, Autumn. This is BC. I do have a question, and I know Diana Mitchell had a question for Dr. Green. I have a question for the two adults, our program leaders that are on. You know, Clearly, Shoshana and Stevie have strong support systems that have allowed them to, follow these grow these leadership roles for themselves. But we all know there are youth out there who maybe aren't as outgoing, aren't as maybe pushed to go to pursue a role like this. Have you had folks who maybe were in that position, had youth who were in that position that you were able to bring into the program and see them grow into those leadership roles for their programs or in your community? And if so, how did you have to uh, confront them differently, or how did you have to reach out to them differently to do that? And I'll just, if you don't mind, I'll just ask Elizabeth first, and then Dr. Green, you can follow up.
I'm sorry, could you rephrase that question?
Yeah, I'm sorry, would you like me to repeat the question?
Could you repeat it?
Yeah, so, we have different kinds of youth out there, some who are very supported and maybe motivated by their families to participate in these kinds of activities. And, we'll always probably end up seeing them be successful. Have you run across youth who maybe weren't, who were more shy, for lack of a better word, but that is the word, they're shy or they're reticent, but you've been able to bring them into the group and you've seen them grow and blossom? And if so, what kind of, what methodologies did you use to do that?
Okay. Yes, actually, and when you're working with groups of youth, there's going to be a few that are not as outgoing as the rest. But I have found that it just takes one small thing of relevance to keep them coming. Whether it's they relate to their peers or if they relate to one of the adult chaperones that are in the committee, and just to keep them coming, making them feel heard is important too. I can think of a couple in my youth committee here that have started off quite shy and reserved and now are slowly warming up to the idea, but it takes time to see them really blossom. And this committee has only been around for less than a year, so we still have a lot of room to grow.
Thank you. Dr. Green, would you like to address that?
Let's see, I think I'm unmuted. Okay. One of the things that was important to me was to really talk about what being shy means. That a lot of times young adults or kids think that being shy means being stupid, instead of understanding that being more introverted or more quiet doesn't mean you're stupid. It means that you're more of a thinker and you're an observer of things that go on around you. So encouraging them to bring forward their ideas and to participate in things, is going to make them feel more connected to the world. Because a lot of times when kids are shy, they're perfectly happy with their own life, but they get into their inner life, but they get into school and there's a lot of pressure to be more outgoing. So I think starting by talking to them more openly about being shy, and then picking out a particular thing that you would like them to do or participate in, and almost always they would come through. And one of the the youth who spoke on our presentation, her mother said that she hadn't said more than 30 words in the last year. So, so it was really significant for her to get on and say something to all of you. So I think really just establishing a relationship, explaining what you see about them that's very positive, and then giving them a chance to do something small to encourage more confidence and belief in themselves.
Thank you. That was all I have.
Thank you. I see that we have another question in the group chat from a Sharon Eagleman. And the question is, how does cultural practices or beliefs impact youth engagement? Once again, the question is, how does cultural practices or beliefs impact youth engagement? So anyone on the panel, would you like to answer that question for Sharon? Thank you, Sharon, for your question.
Hi, Sharon. This is Shoshana from Tier 3. So having a perspective from seeing different Native Connections programs being implemented, I have definitely seen that there's a huge impact of cultural practices and beliefs with youth taking to that, especially when it's in programming. Like I said in education, we say culture is prevention about everything because it works. There's really important core values in using culture as prevention because it allows you to increase your cultural identity, your self-identity, who you are as a person. It gets to know things about, it's getting to know things about yourself, especially the world that we live in when we can't exactly maybe live where our tribe resides, maybe we live in cities, maybe we live in different states, so it's hard to get those connections now. But when these programs like Native Connections come out with activities and events that promote Indigenous values, I see community members taking a lot more to that because it attracts everybody from an elder who knows all of their traditional ways to a new person who maybe didn't have family members in their life to teach it in their cultural ways, and they can be introduced to it through these programs. So I think what these programs do to encourage youth to come back to their culture is very powerful, and it definitely worked for me. Native Connections helped bring me back to my culture in traditional ways.
Yeah, this is Stevie with Tier 1. I think combining cultural practices with youth engagement is really beneficial. A few years ago, I went to this media camp. Not only did we do things with media, they also incorporated cultural aspects. We all got smudged in the teepee. We had like a little mini powwow. And I think the cultural practices, they do help with self-identity among the youth. They get more exposed to the culture and what's going on, and like you want to be a part of it whenever you figure it out and you see it and you're engaged and you want to be a part of it. So yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for all of your questions, and thank you panelists for your presentations and being so ready and willing to answer all of the questions that we had today. Right now, I want to turn it over to Marty for our thank you. So Marty.
Thank you, Autumn. Bila hoop to our presenters. And just thank you for all of your wonderful words and your different programs, to Dr. Green, Dr. Charlene Green, Elizabeth, our youth, Malaya, and we have Stevie, Shoshana. And I don't want to miss anyone, but of course, Autumn again for moderating our webinar today. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Sienna, who's going to start wrapping us up with our takeaways from the webinar today.
Thank you. So we really hope that you gained a little bit more information and knowledge on how we could better support the needs of our youth through mentorship and different structural and organizational ways that we are able to better sustain our programs, to maintain that engagement with our youth and to grow that leadership. And as Dr. Green had mentioned, really trying to pull in our shy youth and rethinking, what shy means. So I definitely appreciated those words, Dr. Green, on that. And then also how, we really need to focus on being able to mentor and partner our younger Native youth with our older Native youth, to do that peer-to-peer mentorship, to stay connected with the community. And as Malaya said, that the next generation will be even better and stronger. And so I hope that everyone does have something good to take away from this experience. And if anyone has any follow-up questions or information, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We will connect you with our speakers to be able to have the follow-up. And so, Tabutne.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. As you can see, we have just a few more webinars left in our program year here. Excuse me. Coming up will be Indigenous Youth Resilience during a pandemic, certainly something that's been on all our minds this past year on July 13th after the holiday, and engaging older youth through Youth Council. The next two, the one following that as well, will be getting youth to participate in a youth council and how to make it most effective. So those are July 27th and August 17th. We hope you all have a good holiday and a safe holiday. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you the next time. Thank you very much.